Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Qualia. In this episode, we talk about the nitty gritties of the hottest topic in town, artificial intelligence. Joining with you guys today are Rohan, Pradeep, and Jeffrey, your three neighborhood physicists. Let's get started. The term AI is trending. It's almost in every technical news that I go through. AI stands for artificial intelligence. We all know that. So, before getting into the technical aspects of AI, the evils and the good things of it, the term artificial intelligence is nothing but two English words, artificial and intelligence joined together. I just wanted to know your opinion about these two words. What does it strike when I say artificial and intelligence together in a single breath?
Yes, Rohan. There's this saying in philosophy that the biggest of philosophical problems have their foundation tied to language. So, the right take to tackle something as complex as artificial intelligence would be attack it from its language. Now, artificial intelligence. First of all, the former part of the word, artificial, I don't think it's very hard to explain. So, I'll try to focus my attention on the latter part of the word, intelligence. What qualifies as something intelligent? Now, intelligence is a life form's tendency to develop micro habits, tendency to adapt to environments, tendencies to realize the environments that they live in. They make micro habits accordingly and they survive. So, from a survival point of view, intelligence is what enables life forms to survive. As complex as the word and the field of artificial intelligence is, as of intelligence, we can understand the term intelligence from a household version of it. It's like we all see ants carrying food and they go to store the foods. And ants save food all summer. Why do they do it? They do this because they know that there will be or there might be a scarcity of food in winter. So, this tendency of these ants by which they developed this habit of saving food in summer to have it in winter, this is intelligence. Without this, ants won't be able to survive through the winter. So this is a very nascent definition of the word intelligence, but still, I think it conveys the point real good. So this is intelligence, and we know lots of life forms they have these micro habits and micro adaptations which constantly vary with the environment that they live in. So I think that forms the foundation of the word intelligence. That forms the foundation of the meaning of the word intelligence.
Yeah, that was very apt. But what I feel is when you bring the term artificial into this whole beautiful intelligence that you explained now, things get interesting. You see, artificial means something that is made by humans. We can control. It gives us hope that we are creating intelligent beings. Even metaphorically speaking, it kinds of puts humans in place of creators, like we are the god of something. Or so, artificial intelligence is actually the development of computer systems which are capable of performing tasks that require human intelligence. We have, from the perspective of a human intelligence, we have certain tasks like decision making, object detection, language processing, and etc. So, when we are able to make a computer system that can perform these human level intelligence tasks, I think that's when we have achieved some sort of artificial intelligence or something.
Yes. And as of artificial intelligence, it's a very tricky term. You can hear many different versions of it. You hear people calling something like domain specific artificial intelligence, domain specific intelligence, domain specific super intelligence. All of AI, it's a network of words which defines the whole subject. Like you read the title and you read the title well, then you will be able to describe the entire field to someone. Now, for example, what you said, human level intelligence. That is the milestone that artificial intelligence engineers and AI researchers from all over the world are hoping to achieve. And I'll tell you why. Intelligence in humans, it's a very, very tedious and it's a very, very intricate process. Intelligence in humans is is really hard to even describe. For example, as you said, there's decision making, there's free will, there's consciousness, and there's a lot of things which we don't fundamentally understand. And in 1950s, there was this summer school program. Scientists believed that sitting in that 1 or 2 months of summer program, they thought that they can figure out the entire field of artificial intelligence by making theories for a machine which will have consciousness. And even though that we think that it was so naive of those people to think something like that, those people, they turned out to be the pioneers of artificial intelligence. They didn't achieve the artificial intelligence that they hoped to go for, but we are in the pursuit of that. And the definitions of artificial intelligence, they very much define artificial intelligence.
Yeah, even though we are like long way from our goal, we have developed nascent forms of intelligences. These nascent forms are like currently changing the way we live. So you can talk about the ways it's like how AI today is influencing our lives.
Before we get to that, I'd like to stress on the point why human level intelligence is considered to be a milestone. You might think that humans are not so intelligent after all. They're destroying their very own home planets, they're making bad political decisions. You might think that humans are not intelligent, but let me remind you, when we define something, we as humans, we as the subjects of mankind, when we define something, we define it with us at the origin. We put humans at the origin, and humans are the comparing standards of everything else. Like, for example, if I were to ask you to draw an intelligence spectrum, you'll put on one side the most stupidest person that you know, and on other side, you might put someone like Dr. Einstein. This viewpoint where we put ourselves, our species at the center and draw the circles and boundaries, this is known as anthropocentric viewpoints. Here, what do we do? Any human, if you were to go to them and ask them, what do you think is the most dumbest thing in the world? They'll either point to a person or they'll point to something that the person did. And everything that's dumber than that is just dumb. For example, a cat. A cat is dumber than the most stupidest person you know. Because the most stupidest person, say that person's name is X has the ability to communicate. X has the ability to convey his emotions and interpret the emotions of others. This very thing puts humans at the top of the intelligence dominance hierarchy. Now you take your intelligence spectrum again. Even now you keep Dr. Einstein on the right extreme, and now your left extreme, it is negotiable. Now the most stupidest thing in your spectrum is not the most stupidest person you know, who we named as X. It is the other forms of life. For example, if we were to emulate the brain of a mice, emulating a mice's brain is really easy than emulating the brain of a chimp. If you stack these hierarchies one over the other, humans form the top fraction of the intelligence dominance hierarchy. So this is why human level intelligence is very, very hard to achieve. So if the scientists are able to make a mental representation, a brain emulation of the most stupidest person that you know, it would take just one night from it for the machine to be as smart as Dr. Einstein. If not, it has reached an ultra Einstein level. That's why human level intelligence is considered to be one of the biggest milestones to be reached in the whole of artificial intelligence. I think it's high time that you mention about the types of artificial intelligence that we have, Rohan.
So scientists who are the pioneers in artificial intelligence, they have this roadmap laid ahead of them. They have this roadmap for the whole humanity to, and then they have basically divided the whole artificial intelligence goal into three stages. It goes like the artificial narrow intelligence. It's also known as the weak AI. It performs narrowly defined set of specific tasks. It has no thinking ability. Until this date, whatever has been built and whatever we hear as AI is actually one form or the other of the weak AI, that is artificial narrow intelligence. So the next step, next level in this game is the artificial general intelligence. This is something that will have thinking and will possess abilities to make decisions like humans. This is also known as the strong AI, and the end goal is something like the artificial super intelligence, which will have capability that will surpass the humans. So yeah, these are some of the stages that the scientists working in this field of artificial intelligence have laid out.
I heard that you said that we have lots of artificial narrow intelligence or domain specific intelligence among us already. I think that it would be easy for the listeners to get a picture of it if you would like to state some examples and their workings and their achievements.
Yeah, it's actually cool if you just read through this. I'll just explain these to you that as humans, AI is something that even in its nascent form has been influencing our lives so much that we can't live without it. To give a few examples, it all started, the AI boom, everything got famous when there was this computer program called Deep Blue. It was a chess program that was written by the company IBM, which defeated Gary Kasparov, the world's chess grandmaster at that time. And then we have softwares in our phone that we could reach through our own hands. It's like we have AI powered engines in our own smartphones, like the Google Assistant or Siri or Alexa. These are all working on the nascent forms of AI. And then we have the self-driving cars. It's like epitome of today's AI. Self-driving cars, they take up all the informations that they can take from the sensors present in them, and they react instantaneously based on that particular information available to them. So yeah, it's like AI is changing our lives very rapidly, and we could only imagine using our science fiction that what would happen if general AI and or maybe super intelligence, we are able to achieve those kinds of levels. But the real question that pops in my mind is, are humans as a species really intelligent enough or capable enough to create an intelligence outside of them? Are we intelligent enough? It's like, because wake up and watch news anytime, any day, you see as species we do so many things wrong. Should we be able to give such a big responsibility to ourselves?
I think that's an interesting question there. As humans, we were restricted to fly, and I think we flew really well. But answering your question with this answer would be such a cliche, it would be such an easy escape route. So I'll try to tackle it with artificial intelligence and the developments we've had so far in artificial intelligence. Now, around the 1970s, there were robots which were able to perform stand up comedies, and most of it was programmed. For example, take two computers. One computer is just sitting there, and in one computer, I write a program which can differentiate between a black and white picture and a color picture. Now, this would again be somewhat misleading, but still, I think this illustration will do a fine job of illustrating my point. Now, the computer which does nothing, consider it to have zero intelligence, and the computer which can which can differentiate between black and white and color pictures, this computer has an intelligence point 1. Now, I further code the program, I further reinforce the program by giving it more data, and this time the same computer is now able to differentiate as many colors as the human visual cortex could differentiate. In that way, we have an intelligence which performs the task of color differentiation in the scale of human visual cortex abilities. Now, would you call this intelligence? Of course, you have to call this intelligence. Intelligence which has been programmed like this, they're known as programmable intelligence. And this is somewhat relative. For example, the computer which was able to differentiate between the black and white pictures was more intelligent than the computer which didn't have a program to do that. And the computer which can differentiate between all the colors was even more efficient than the computer which was only able to differentiate between black and white and color pictures. Now, I think that we've come a really long way with the programming and the software developments. And I think that it's not just me. The AI researchers, they all predict that from 2050 to 2100, this will be the age of rise of artificial intelligence. That artificial intelligence is going to change the world in ways that we've never imagined.
So recently I was watching YouTube videos on AI. So I came across this video where the presenter was explaining the research of AI using an example of church. So according to him, the research in AI today is like building the first church ever. Imagine it's like world had no churches, and as humans we formed a group and we decided to build something called a church. Until the first church got built, we don't know how a church looks. So is this the same happening with AI? What do you guys feel? As humanity, we are building what AI requires brick by brick. We are arranging it today. We are building it from the ground. But we don't know how it will look when the construction gets over, metaphorically speaking. So, what do you guys think about this whole not knowing black box kind of approach of humanity that is going into a project like creating artificial intelligence?
As you mentioned, we've laid the bricks for the building of church, but only in our case, we are not going to build the church anymore. The church is going to build itself. And the church can build itself in three ways. I mean, like at three rates to be precise. There's this curve called the takeoff curve. This takeoff curve gives you the timeline or the rate at which an artificial intelligence can go from human level intelligence to super intelligence. Now, this can happen in three ways. And not to lose sight of what we are talking about, the church is just a metaphor, as you suppose. The church can build itself in three ways. First thing, the church can build either slow, which means from the level of human level intelligence to artificial super intelligence, it might go at a very slow rate. At this slow rate, it might take decades or perhaps centuries for artificial intelligence to come into action, and it has its own merits and demerits. The biggest demerit will, of course, be the late arrival of artificial intelligence. Probably it might not even be in this present century. And the merits are we can have good systems that can draft good policies for humans so that they are not easily replaced by artificial intelligence systems. Secondly, we can proctor artificial intelligence. We can apply good surveillance upon them. That way, we can always keep it under our control. Now, when it comes to moderate rate of takeoff, in this case, a very selective people who own franchises of artificial intelligence, who own research companies on artificial intelligence, private companies which are already in the venture. Now, these people, they'll be heavily profited by what artificial intelligence has to offer. And this moderate takeoff, this might occur in a time of months or years. And at last, we have fast takeoff. And fast takeoff is something which we are already used to. We've seen fast takeoff happening all the time in artificial intelligence movies where artificial intelligence just takes over the world. This is actually a plausible scenario. In a matter of one night or in a matter of days or hours, keep in mind that we still haven't made a human level intelligence system. And if you give a human level intelligence system hardware which is really better than the biological hardware of humans and the neurological circuitry of humans, so these systems, when it's been given access to something like the internet, it can grow real fast. Its intelligence can multiply exponentially. In these cases, this takeoff from human level intelligence to artificial super intelligence will be a matter of hours or minutes. And in this case, we won't even have time to react. And it can be said that every human action which goes into this scenario of takeoff will just be like setting open a nuclear briefcase. So there's this three rates at which the church can be built, and the rate at which the church is built, it's really important than how the church is going to look, because we know at the end it's going to reach a level of super intelligence, but the rate at which it approaches super intelligence, I think it's really essential to keep track of it and keep it under surveillance.
It took 10,000 years for humans to get from writing on a paper to having a printing press, and another 500 years to reach a point where we could mail each other. The pace in which humanity is advancing its technology, AI seems nearer than it actually is. Good or bad, the time when we reach artificial superintelligence is sure going to be interesting. So that's it for this episode of Qualia. Stay tuned. See you guys in the next one.